in the circle. That was my Chris Russo impersonation.
That was just as horrible as Russo's takes about quarterbacks in the NFL.
That is not Stephen A. Smith.
No,
Big NBA teams are actually successful.
Yes.
Correct. That's Victor Anderson back from Lopez.
Red and black skies, Heat in 6.
That's right.
Panthers in 5.
This is the In the Circle live show. We just got back from Tampa.
Yes.
Victor did a double dip, folks. He played a doubleheader. I played a single
did.
Game. We both covered the American Conference Championship, which UCF in their final game of the American Conference Championship won, running rolling Tulsa 9-1. They are back-to-back American Conference champions. Meanwhile, Vic caught that, then went over about 10, 15 minutes?
Take it more like 25 minutes.
Really? A little longer to watch an amazing regional.
Yes.
Tampa beating Alabama Huntsville 2-1 in a dramatic game to advance to the Super Regionals. So you literally, that's a pretty cool day for you
there. Yeah, very awesome day. First time Tampa will be going to Super Regionals. I'll talk more about that on D2 Tuesday. We may be making an announcement about that within the next 24 to 36 hours. So just be on the lookout for that. But the focus on tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is Selection Sunday, which is less than 24 hours from now. You got a lot of questions. Eric and I will try and have some answers.
Keyword try, guys. Let me. I know there's gonna be a lot of bracketology questions, and normally I would have a lot of answers for you. That's not the case tonight. I will have answers eventually, because this has been a wild week in college softball with upsets, stunning results, bid stealing potential, etc. I will be working, once we do this live show, I will be finalizing my bracketology. So I'm not going to kind of give away some picks. I will obviously talk some seeds. I know there's already questions out there about the seeding. I do have some thoughts on that based on some of the results today. We'll recap some of the conference championship results from today and where we stand as the selection show will be unveiled at 7 p.m. Eastern Sunday night, Victor. So that's kind of the setting. Yep. Follow In the Circle SB on Twitter, as well as our YouTube channel. That is very important.
Very important.
Because we got 2 more shows on Sunday? What do we got?
One more. We got one more show.
I can't count anymore, folks.
One more show on Sunday. Our watch along, as Eric referenced, right. Tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific.
Woo!
We are finalizing our guest list as we speak. We got at least 2 people confirmed. May have some more. We'll be working on that tonight. And y'all know the deal with us. So we'll get all that taken care of and all that good stuff. So we got some questions for you in the chat. Make sure you're putting your questions because we're going to be talking about this. Glenn Warshaw asks, who is the number 3 overall seed? Myself personally, I think it's going to be Florida State. If you look at their resume, you compare with Tennessee, who they'll likely be competing with. They both won the ACC. They both won their respective conferences, regular season and tournament championships. Florida State needing a little bit more dramatic fashion to take care of business versus Tennessee, versus Duke today. Tennessee dominant versus South Carolina in the SEC. So, Eric, I posed this question to you, and Glenn asked this question. Who do you think is the number 3 overall seed? Because we've been saying this for a month. Oklahoma's going to be the 1. UCLA is going to be the 2. The question is really going to be at number 3. I said that I think it's going to be Florida State. You look at their resume and their numbers. How do you feel about that?
I agree. I have Florida State 3. I have Tennessee 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be interesting because Tennessee coming into today's RPI was 9. Their non-conference schedule kind of drops them a little bit. There's some history of like Alabama in 2019 that had a similar resume that ended up being an 8. So I'm going to be aggressive, though. I just think Tennessee's clearly, they've won the regular season. They've won the tournament. Alabama didn't do that in 2019. I think FSU's the 3 seed. I will have Tennessee as the 4 seed. I think that's clear. In my opinion, that is the 4 best teams at this point. And I think they've earned those seeds. After that, who knows? But yeah, I think those are to me, that would be the top 4 seeds and that I would have. You would have the Big 12 champion, the Pac-12 champion, the ACC champion, and the SEC champion. Not that the committee looks at that.
No.
But I just think that I don't like if those are the top 4 announced, I don't think anybody would have an issue with that, right? Like
nobody would. Nobody really would.
I give Florida State the edge because of schedule strength. Their non-conference schedule strength was 34 going into today, whereas Tennessee schedule strength was 117. And that's the one hiccup. That's why their RPI coming into today was 9, is because of their non-conference schedule strength. But as we're going to get into, I think there's going to be a lot of metrics versus eye test colliding this weekend. It's going to be interesting who wins out in that committee room with that. I would just move Tennessee up to 4. Would it shock me if Tennessee is lower than a 4? No, because we have seen historically teams that have a non-conference schedule strength similar to what Tennessee has maybe be seated lower, a couple spots, 2 or 3 spots lower than we thought maybe they should be or would be. So, but I honestly, to me, I will have. I know it's breaking news. We don't have a soundtrack. Sound. We had one for the D2 show, Vic. We did have one that we unveiled. I don't know.
For breaking news. I think we could. I guess we could use this one.
There you go. Let it be known. I'm going to announce this about 22 hours before they announce it. But my top 4 is Oklahoma, UCLA, Florida State, Tennessee. There you go.
Yep, there you go.
Go ahead, everybody, steal it. Just take it and then take it. Take credit for it.
Make with it what you will. Make with it what you will. Now, you mentioned the Pac-12, and the quagmire of who's going to be those last 2 to 3 teams that could be hosting. I think Louisiana, with their win in the Sun Belt Championship today versus Marshall, are we confident in saying that the Raging Cajuns are solidly in as a host right now as of 8:08 p.m. Eastern time Saturday night?
This has been a very, as you know, touchy subject. I think the way things have played out, yes. Now, as we talk, Louisiana is an 11 in RPI. That's as of 8:08 Eastern Saturday night. I say that because we don't know what the final RPI will be after the result today where Louisiana beat Marshall. Are they going to drop to 12 or not? To 12, for example, or they stay at 11. The reason I say that is no team that has been ranked in the top 11 in the final, so in those selection show RPI Sunday has ever not hosted. In other words, if you've been an RPI ranking of 1 through 11, you have hosted. And you look at mid-major teams like and non-power 5 schools, however you want to describe the term. Some of the criteria they've met, we went through this last year with UCF. Look at Louisiana, 11 currently RPI. Overall schedule strength, 12. Non-conference schedule strength, Victor, 3. That is incredible. 3. So Jerry Glasgow has played a difficult schedule. Now, when I spoke to Jerry Glasgow, he used UCF as an example of a team that inspired him to schedule the way he did, to try to host in that great park with that great fan base. I watched that Sun Belt tournament. Man, that atmosphere was electric. The knock is, well, they only have 2 top 25 wins, and that is true. And I did look this up. Teams that usually had 4 wins at least in the top 25 hosted that mid-major. They also reached the number of 9 or more wins against the top 50. Really, 10 is the magic number. There was that one year with James Madison in 2015 that had 9 wins. Everybody else has had 10 wins or more. UCF, I believe, had 13 on Selection Sunday, to put it in perspective last year. But they had like 4 or 5 top 25 wins and a tough schedule. So the question with Louisiana is, will the committee knock them for the lack of top 25 wins? Because I think that's some of the and I'll give, some people have messaged me about it, because this is a hot topic, Victor, right now. It's about Louisiana. UCF last year in comparison, just because that's the most recent comparison we could do, there was a lot of buzz because they beat Texas, because they beat Virginia Tech, right? Like there was some buzz. You saw that a little bit with Wichita State earlier this year because they beat Oklahoma State twice. We really don't have that with Louisiana, right? Like normally, they beat their best. They're 2 top 25. They beat LSU.
Not as prevalent as it was with UCF last year. I agree with you on that.
Right. They split with LSU. They split with Florida. Those are their 2 top 25 RPI wins. After that, they have wins over Indiana, which, by the way, that looks pretty good right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, would have been much better if Indiana won that Big Ten championship versus Northwestern.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, Indiana's going to the tournament.
That's still quality win.
Because remember, Vic, you were there. We were there in Clearwater. Nobody was thinking Indiana was an NCAA tournament team leaving Clearwater.
No.
In fact, that's a trend we might have to start following in Clearwater. Teams that go winless in Clearwater and turn it around. Texas last year, Indiana this year, both making the tournament. But anyway, they beat Ole Miss, who I think will be in the tournament. They beat McNeese State 3 times. I believe won the Southland today.
Won the Southland. We have walk-offs left and right, ladies and gentlemen, while we're in Tampa. So we're going to be talking about that.
The question, and of course, Louisiana beat UCF, which I would know. I called that game.
Yes, it did.
So the question is that enough? They only have 1 quad 4 loss. They only have 1 quad 3 loss. I think the thing that helped Louisiana is that everybody else around them lost. Right? Oregon lost early in the Pac-12 tournament.
Yep.
Clemson got no hit by Duke. Baylor, the buzz after the sweep with Texas. And people told me, why don't you have Baylor host? I'm like, let me see what they can do against Iowa State.
And what happened? They lost against Iowa State.
So I just think they're too inconsistent. And I said this on the podcast, Victor, when we did the podcast. It just feels like it makes a ton of sense to have Louisiana and Baylor in the same. Just have Baylor go to Louisiana.
It's possible.
I think they could bust. I think that's what's going to happen. But yes, I think Louisiana's done enough to host. I think there are top 16 worthy. I know I'm in the minority on that. I know that. But I think they've deserved it. And my counter is, if you don't think they don't deserve it, who do you think deserves it? Because I think they've been consistent. And by the way, the Sun Belt Conference ranked 6 in the RPI. 6.
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing.
And so it's not like they're playing in a weak conference. And I think, to me, Victor, one of the storylines on Selection Sunday, last year we focused on whether UCF would host or not, right? That was a big storyline last year, Sunday night. Arizona in the bubble. Turns out we were playing the hits again on that one later. But I would say the interesting thing this year is, how does the committee view the Sun Belt? Because the Sun Belt, will the Sun Belt be a 2-bid league? A Texas State or a South Alabama get in? Does Louisiana host? Or does the committee just say no? Because the metrics suggest that the Sun Belt should be a 2-bid league. The metrics suggest that Louisiana should host. Will the committee follow that? Or the committee say, no, we don't think you're good enough? That is a huge storyline. I'm fascinated to see what they do. Do they compromise? Does Louisiana – I feel like if you're Texas State or South Alabama and you want to get in, you have to root for Louisiana to host, because that might be a good sign. But the problem is you may not know that until the end of the show, because I don't think, even though Louisiana is an 11 seed right now, I think you would agree, Vic, I think they're going to end up being either a 15 or that 16 seed.
Correct. Now, that's going to lead into your question, can lead into what I'm going to think about. Are we getting closer to having 32 seeds in the NCAA tournament? Because with all of it feels like it's like a perfect storm brewing. Fluidity, who will be at the top 8. Fluidity, who's going to be the last 2 teams hosting. Who's going to be seeded. Who's going to be sent out where. Who's going to be in. Who's going to be out. What determines who gets in. What determines who didn't get in. We are heading right now, Eric, where I can, and I said this on the podcast several times, and I'll repeat it again. Do you want me to, hold on.
Oh my God.
You know what?
Hit the music. Breaking news, courtesy of our friend Michelle Carlin, who is the go-to for all, not just Pac-12. I'm going to call her our West Coast correspondent. Hopefully she appreciates that title I just gave her, because I didn't. Yes, Long Beach has just swept Cal State Fullerton, just like they did in 2021, to win the Big West title and win the automatic bid. See this hair? Victor? Victor, look at what I'm doing with my hair. You know what I'm doing? What am I doing?
You're getting ready to pull it out of you.
Literally. Because now Cal State had this in the grabs. Now they're on the bubble.
As the kids like to say, Eric, they fumbled the bag.
Just like in 21. Now
for the second time in 3 years,
wow.
They needed to win. Long Beach State needed to sweep like they did in 2021 to bring the Big West Championship. And just like in 2021, Long Beach did it, and they stole a bid. Now you have to add Fullerton in the mix as a bubble team.
Whose RPI coming into today was 35.
Ooh.
What 35, and that's before these two losses. Now, here's my the Fullerton defense. This is oh my goodness, just what we need. More storylines, Vic. We might be on tomorrow for like 5 hours. I'm actually going to be in a ball. I'm going to join you from a. It's funny. I'm going to join you from a. I'm joining you from a sport. I'll be joining you from a sports bar, and let's just say there's beverages that I might be. But anyway,
I might be too.
You're welcome to join us, Victor. If you want to do it on site, we can. Anyway,
we've done it before.
True. So Fullerton, here's the resume. 35 RPI. This is as of today. Schedule strength overall 53. Very good. Mm-hmm. Non-conference schedule number 2. That's really good. They have 7 quad 1 and 2 wins, 3 quad 1 wins. Their best wins: Tennessee, SEC champion, Oregon, and Florida. They also have a win against Liberty, fellow bubble team, who could be in the field. Beat Cal. That's an NCAA tournament team. Beat Ole Miss. Probably going to be in the NCAA tournament. Beat UCF. NCAA tournament. That's a good resume. The negative?
Let's see. You lost
5 quad 4 losses,
including 2 of them to UC Davis, and 1 to UC Riverside.
So we'll see what the committee does. I'm just digesting this because this literally just happened.
Eric, we may have another one potentially.
Go for it.
In the NDA Sun.
No.
Now, full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, this game was delayed several hours due to weather in Volusia County, but Central Arkansas.
We would know. We're like nearby there.
Yeah. Central Arkansas won 3-1 just a few minutes ago versus North Alabama. Why is that significant? Central Arkansas has to beat the Lions twice to get the automatic bid for the A-Sun. Central Arkansas has this RPI, I believe, was it 17 area coming into today?
Yes.
Central Arkansas, they're going to be in. If you're a bubble team, you need Central Arkansas to get that automatic bid, because if North Alabama wins, I think the A-Sun becomes a 3-bid league with North Alabama, Central Arkansas, and Liberty. Bad news if you're a Fullerton. Bad news if you're a Michigan, potentially.
Bad. I mean, this is bad for Michigan, Arizona, Mississippi State. A lot of bad news. I will say this, Victor, and this is just, and again, folks, give me like 10% room for air, because I'm going to be working tonight till
give him some grace, ladies and gentlemen.
So there's some of this I might change my mind, because I will go hardcore once I'm done here. But starting with the
zero dark 30.
Yeah, I'll be on. Like, I will be hardcore filling my final bracketology, which to have it out Sunday morning. My instincts is I agree with Michelle, and I agree. I think my issue in looking at the resumes, I think I have Fullerton in, because those are great wins, and they played a tough non-conference schedule. If I'm right on that, and that's just going to be wild now, the Big West may have just gotten to be a 2-bid league if they get Fullerton in, which means that steals a bid from somebody else. Congrats to Kim Souter, by the way, pulling that off again. Unbelievable.
Twice in 3 again, ladies and gentlemen. Let us put this in perspective.
That's an underrated rivalry, by the way.
Yes, Fullerton. Yes, Fullerton had to win once in Long Beach State to win the Big West Championship and get the auto bid, and it gets swept again in Long Beach. And trust me, Long Beach, they had that circle on their calendar. They didn't realize we just need to be within striking distance. We just need to have a shot to win the conference championship. And here they are, stealing a bid from Fullerton, and Fullerton potentially stealing a bid from some. we are,
or they may be out. I mean, that's the thing. This is a wild. I can't even imagine what the reaction in the committee.
All I have to say is chairwoman Gatewood and the selection
Kelly
committee.
Gatwood, which by the way, I would strongly recommend, and we might do this on our Twitter. We might post this Sunday morning as well.
We're gonna be
the interview.
We will repost that interview with Chairwoman Gatwood either later tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Yes,
please listen to that interview because it's gonna give you some perspective on what the committee will be looking for.
Yes,
especially this year because we are at a crossroads right now, Eric, in terms of what the committee will value more. Do they value the metrics? Or do they value the eye test? Because we have a lot of teams.
No, I agree.
That those one or the other.
It's a mess. It's anarchy. People call it mayhem. I call
anarchy
it anarchy. I will say this: if Fullerton's in, that's a 3 seed, probably at Stanford or at UCLA. And why I bring that up is that opens the door for both Stanford and UCLA to possibly get a 2 seed, maybe from a major conference. I've been projecting Minnesota to go to Stanford because I like to have fun. So that could be a fun storyline, but it could be somebody like that and things like that. So that's the significant, because I thought Fullerton had a chance with a good weekend to be a 2 seed possibly. And I'm going to go full circle because I never answered your question of the 32 seed because I was shocked when that news came from Michelle there because I knew Long Beach had won the first game.
That was a hard right turn you had to make before you had to go back.
That's big news. No, because that's a huge show. That's a huge news. That is bad news if you're a bubble team, and it's not great if you're Fullerton, honestly.
No,
because now I'm curious where they are RPI wise going in, but I kind of feel like I'm going to keep them in. But boy, that's some juggling going on there. But I think this will be the last year we go to. We have 16 seeds. Kelly Gatwood told us on the show that they have recommended to the NCAA about going to 32 seeds. Volleyball, women's soccer did that as an experiment this past fall. Victor, we both cover volleyball, and the feedback, according to Kelly Gatwood, committee chairwoman, was very positive. So they are pushing for that, and I don't see how that would be prevented. And I think we will see 32 seeds, which means, I'll just never sleep again on a Saturday before Selection Sunday ever again, because it's hard enough seeding 16. It'll be interesting 30, but I do agree. I like that. I think we should go to 32. I really think we should quickly go to whole 64, but
we should
step by step. Step by step. By my goodness, that I can't believe
that and
it's a great question, Cal. Now that's a great question. You're right. I hated how volleyball did it, where they had 4 brackets of 8. It was kind of confusing. I'm not a fan of that. I haven't heard. That's a great question.
But here's the problem.
I'll get back to that. I'm going to ask some people, not in the next 24 hours, because
after the process is over.
After the process, that's a great question, Callan. I will find out for you and just follow us, and then at some point we'll address that. I don't know if I can get an answer by tomorrow, but I could get an answer probably in the near future. That's a great question, because I would prefer 1 through 32 personally. Yes. Kind of like tennis does. I know people are not, I'm a big tennis fan. They seed 1 through 32. I don't know. I don't know what other sports do that. But I would like to do that. I didn't like what volleyball did 1 through 8, but my concern is if volleyball did it that way, and I think soccer did the same thing, I want to say, then we probably will see similar with softball and baseball, but you never know. But that's great. It's a great question, actually. It's a great question, and I will definitely work on that for you.
Yep. Now let's get back to kind of the whole seeding aspect of it. Now, like from 14 through 16, a sneaky team that has bubbled up on the timeline Saturday, Eric, is Utah. Utah will be playing in the Pac-12 championship game later on tonight versus UCLA. You look at what Utah's done in the run to the Pac-12 championship game. They knocked off Washington in the semifinal last night. If Utah were to knock off the Bruins and win the inaugural Pac-12 championship game, does Amy Hogue and company have enough of a resume to be that 16 seed and leapfrog Oregon, Auburn, Louisiana, Baylor, all those teams that we mentioned previously?
So you asked me that while I was on my way back from Tampa. Our friend Brady Vernon brought that up. He's over there at the Pac-12 tournament. Obviously, my sense is that's the push that the league over there is trying to do to get a team going there. You can make that argument, right? You beat UCLA. They're currently 20 in the RPI going into today. Let me give you this other stat. The lowest RPI, the worst RPI that a team has hosted as a 1 seed. I'm not talking about like 2 years ago when Georgia hosted as a 2 seed in the regional. I'm talking about you were the 1 seed. You were a 1 seed.
You were the number one. You were the 1 seed in your regional, and you were hosting.
Yes. The lowest is 19. That's it's worked out that way. So I've always felt that if you're 19 or better, that's when you have a shot to host. If you're outside of 19, you're probably not hosting. Utah's 20. Certainly, they would move up if they beat UCLA. So that would be a strong candidate. Utah is a team. I'm grabbing their resume quickly. I got a lot of resumes open right now.
A lot of tabs open, folks.
Just getting ready for tonight. Long night. They swept Stanford big. They beat Washington. They have a win there. They beat Oregon. They swept Oregon. They beat Ohio State. It's a nice resume, Cal. I don't think it would be enough, believe it or not. I mean, I think it would be close, but I don't think it would be enough for them to host because one of the negatives they have, 115 is the non-conference schedule for Utah. I don't know if that's 30 overall, 11 top 50 wins. It's good. Good RP. I think if they win, they'll be in the conversation. So I'm not going to dismiss it. No bad quad 4 losses. That's good. I just wonder if the 115 non-conference schedule still keeps them out. Although the argument could be like Clemson's non-conference. In fact, I'll look at that quickly to compare. And then I'll see what your thoughts are, Vic, as I handle something real quick. But Clemson, in comparison, in the non-conference schedule, going into today, ironically, 113 with a schedule. So if you're Utah and you beat UCLA, the argument is, well, we think we have a better resume than Clemson from that standpoint. And maybe that could be close. So they're 113, and then I think 111 for Baylor. So they're very in the same page.
Well, but here's the thing. I'll let you take care of that task, Eric, and I'll bring this up to the room. You look at what Utah, they finished the season. They will finish the season with wins against Washington and wins against UCLA, and both of those being on a neutral site. Clemson, our last impression of Clemson was them losing and getting no hit at Duke in the semifinals of the ACC tournament. And Baylor, they were one and done in the Big 12 tournament versus Iowa State. The question is going to be, will the committee value the conference tournament more, or will they put more weight on the conference tournament per se over the overall body of work? Because Clemson, they have wins earlier in the season versus Northwestern, who is the Big Ten regular season and tournament champion. That's probably their best win of the season because they lost all 3 games to Florida State. We referenced what happened with them with Duke. Lost 2 out of 3 to Virginia Tech, and if not for a late inning comeback, they would have been swept by the Hokies as well. And Utah, we referenced their resume, sweeping Stanford, sweeping Oregon, beating Washington in the Pac-12 tournament, possibly beating UCLA tonight. But that's going to be a tough task. That's going to be a tall task for a Coach Hogan company to handle. If it were me, Eric, I would put, if Utah wins, again, this is all predicated on if Utah wins, I would have Utah, then Baylor, then Clemson. Because
host, you would have them host?
I would have Utah would be the 16 for me. I would have Louisiana as the 15.
Now, here's an interesting thing. This is the inaugural Pac-12 tournament.
Yes.
We've never had this before.
Never.
We don't know what the impact of this is. Like, and you know this, Victor, because we both cover other sports, right? What's the joke that we always do about the Big Ten tournament and men's basketball, and that airs Selection Sunday right before the selection show?
It doesn't really matter.
Right. Does it really matter? Like, you're telling me that the committee's waiting until that game ends, and then like 20 minutes later, all right, we got the bracket. Really? I don't think so. How much does this game really matter? I don't know. We never gone through this before, right?
No, we've never had that. We've never had this exercise.
And that's
we've never had this exercise.
I don't know. And that's, they'll say it matters, right? But does it really matter? Like, is the committee really
they'll say it to appease the fans, but in reality,
right. That's an interesting point, and I'm really curious to see how much that helps Utah. Look, if they pull off the upset, they have to be in the conversation with Clemson. I think right now, Clemson is in the conversation. Auburn is somewhat in the conversation as well. I think if Auburn would have gotten to the SEC final or the championship, they probably would have hosted, to be honest. Maybe, but there's a part of me that just wonders if they just go with Clemson because they got Valerie Cagle, right? Like, I mean, there's something like it's. Can you put it in your mind? You really don't think Clemson's a top 16? Again, it goes back to the metrics versus what do you believe in Clemson?
It's the metrics versus the eye test. But I cannot get out of my mind the fact that the way Clemson was sputtering down the stretch, swept by Florida State, lost a game to NC State, blew a 7-inning lead at Liberty, lost 2 out of 3 to Virginia Tech, getting no hit by Duke. Clemson was not the consistent team that was running roughshod over everybody for the first 2/3 of the season. That's just plain and simple. And thank you. The eye test against the top teams, not particularly up to snuff. So
here's the problem. The problem is Baylor. If Baylor didn't lose as many quad 3 games, if Baylor actually would have beaten Iowa State a couple more times,
if Baylor actually beaten Iowa State,
I think Baylor would have had the resume, right? Because Baylor has the wins, but they have too many. I think too many losses. I could be wrong. You're right. Clemson's underwhelming a little bit, but the problem with Utah was they've also been up and down too. So here's the thing. Why this is going to be complicated this year. All those teams we just mentioned have flaws.
Yes, they do.
They have holes that you can pick.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick them apart. At some point, though, you have to make a call.
You do?
I'll say this. They have to beat UCLA to be in the conversation. Let me just say that.
Yes.
You lose to UCLA, you're not in the conversation.
Agree.
Can we agree on that? Okay.
100% agree. Everything predicates on them beating UCLA in less than 90 minutes tonight at Arizona.
So, yeah, I mean, the good news for Utah is you literally get, pun intended, you get the last at bat. You get the last at bat. You get the last at bat. You get the last at bat.
You do.
You beat UCLA. That makes things interesting. So basically what you guys have convinced me is I can't do my hosting until this game's over. Thanks, guys.
No, you can't.
Thanks.
I mean, you were going to be up late anyway.
Yeah, my luck, this game will go like 16 innings, 4 hours like Huntsville did against Tampa like yesterday you were telling me about.
Hopefully your conversations will be more enthralling than the commentary during that game yesterday.
That's not hard.
No, it's not.
So we'll see. But I we'll see. I'll tell you this. I'll put out a bracket tomorrow. I don't know official 100% what I'm doing because I want to go through every step.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the least confident I am about picking the 16 seeds.
Really?
Especially at the bottom. Yeah. Remember last year I was very gun-ho about it, Rick. I was very gun-ho. I felt strongly about UCF's
I remember we did a Sunday morning show, which we may or may not do again this year, depending on
I might still be up doing the bracket at this point.
That part. Yeah, we might. Well,
it would not shock me if Vic called me, hey, let's go on live, and I'm still power napping because I just finished the bracket.
For the sake of that, we may not go live tomorrow.
Who knows?
Tomorrow morning or afternoon. We may wait until tomorrow at 6:30. But yeah, there's so many questions that we have. The seating. Who's going to host? Who's going to be sent where? Who's going to be a 2
No, and I
seed
want to
that-
mention this very quickly. Clemson is 15 in the current RPI. Georgia's 16 in the RPI. Baylor's 18. Utah's 20. Oregon's 19. The Florida Gators are 21. Auburn's 22. I mean, those are teams that we're talking about perhaps for the last host spot, potentially.
And of course, just to bring up the stat Eric brought up earlier, for those of you joining us late, the lowest RPI for a team that is a 1 seed and hosted, 19. So keep that in mind when watching the game tonight.
Right. So and Utah's at 20. Now a win over UCLA I would assume get them better than 19.
Yeah, probably 18, 17.
You know, I may literally have multiple brackets by the time that game ends and say, well, if this happens and if this happens,
if X and Y, if Y then Z,
it's going to be a mess.
I know.
It's a mess. And that's the one. Yeah, I don't have, last year, like I said, I had a lot of confidence, conviction on what UCF's resume was, what everybody's resume was. This one I don't. This one I don't. Like, I could pick a team and you might argue and say, no, I think it should be this team. And we're like, hey, you might be right.
Right.
That's how I feel. I really do, Vic. I could end up picking Clemson as the 16. You come back at me tomorrow. It's like, are you crazy? I think it should be this team. And you're like, hey, you might be right. I have no idea.
You have 6 teams right now. Well, 5, not including Utah.
Well, imagine if Central Arkansas was eligible to host. Think how big this game would be, Victor, tonight in the A-Sun for Central Arkansas. It's got a 17 RPI going in. Now, they can't host. We had Jenny Parsons on. They cannot host because of the field turf. That's a whole other controversial topic for another time. I think field turf will be part of softball down the road. But anyway, imagine if they were eligible. Woo! Think about the pressure there.
Yeah. And they're playing right now the, if necessary, game in the A-Sun tournament versus North Alabama, who, oh, by the way, the Lions, who this time last week just clinched a spot in the A-Sun tournament, now find themselves.
You called their games, didn't you?
Huh?
Didn't you call that?
I called that. Yeah, I called that 3-game series. Yes.
Go figure, folks. Word of advice: when Vic calls your team, you're on a magical run.
Yep.
With weather delays, apparently.
Well, yeah. Thankfully, we didn't.
Aren't you glad you're not there? Like, you were like, at one point, we thought you might be in DeLand going this. You'd be like stuck right there.
Let me no comment on that particular part, but nonetheless, we press forward. But yeah, I am that is fascinating. And again, with North Alabama is going to dictate your bubble as well, because if North Alabama wins, as I wholeheartedly agree, I think the A-Sun is going to be a 3-bid league, because you could have Central Arkansas, who is a lock regardless. I think Liberty has played their way in. Now, had Liberty beaten Central Arkansas and got into the final today, I would have felt a lot stronger about the Flames' chances of making the tournament. Right now, I still think they're in, but don't be surprised if North Alabama wins, gets the automatic bid, and Central Arkansas gets the at-large. The A-Sun is a 2-bid league, and it comes at the Flames' expense. But Liberty has those wins at the end of the season versus they had the win versus Central Arkansas, the win versus Clemson. What is the Flames RPI right now, Eric, coming in as of today? I know Eric is making Eric do a lot of chasing numbers on the
Flames
fly.
are 28 in the RPI going into that.
See, my point exactly.
Now, Liberty has 4 wins against the top 50, with their marquee wins being Alabama,
and
Clemson,
keep in mind,
Central Arkansas.
Yeah, and Alabama was at a neutral site. That game was played in Huntington, West Virginia last month.
I do agree with you. They're more suspect than Central. As far as they're more, if you told me, hey man, an A-Sun team got robbed of a bid, it could be. I agree with you. I think it would be Liberty, not Central Arkansas.
Yeah, I think Central Arkansas.
I agree. I tend to agree right now. I think both would get in. Boy, oh boy, you never know. Stranger things can happen there. Keep in mind, last year Charlotte was, I believe, a 32-33 RPI was left out. because of some bad quad 4 losses. Ironically, they're back in the bubble after being knocked off by Middle Tennessee, who won the USA.
I need to appeal to the people of Conference USA right now, because we've had this conversation about their format probably ever since the inception of this podcast. Conference USA starts off double elimination. Oh, sorry. They start off single elimination, win or go home. Then they go to double elimination to the championship game, but the championship game is a 1-game situation. That makes no sense, because you are essentially punishing North Texas by having one bad game or making one bad pitch, and they don't have a chance to run it back to get the championship.
And apparently there was a controversial call in the 12th inning that cost North Texas the game. Very controversial. I didn't see it. I didn't see it because obviously I was in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
But just apparently there was a controversial call on that. It's unfortunate. But yeah, we'll see. Oh my goodness, just crazy stuff. Nobody had Middle Tennessee on the radar winning USA. And the question is does that take Charlotte's spot, or does Charlotte get in and take somebody else's spot? I mean, this is, Victor, because we've the last couple of years, we've kind of been quiet in bid stealing. There really hasn't been many. Well, that's changed this year. It's changed.
Wow. And we're getting people talking to us about the call about the runner was out and they called her safe, and it's a replay upheld a safe call.
All right, Steve, let me ask you this question, since because this is a pet peeve I've had, because I saw this up close in person. One thing that bothered me, and I'm wondering if CUSA, this was the problem. I saw play during the American Conference tournament where the umpire at first blew it. And I'm not going to mention schools and whatever. The umpire blew it. The team challenged, reviewed it. The guy that blew the call went to review it. And my thing is, you think the guy that just blew the call is going to change his call? I'm wondering who reviewed the replay. Because, like, for example, the SEC goes to Birmingham and in the offices to review it.
Right.
I'm not a fan of having the umpire that blew the call in question go ahead and review the play.
I will say, here's what I will say, Eric. It has to be whoever the crew chief is or the lead umpire of that crew. They should be the one to go to the replay area to have the review. If it's the lead umpire who had the call in question, it should be whoever is that second umpire behind them. It should be either the home plate umpire, or if it's not if the crew chief is also the home plate. Let me phrase it correctly. The crew chief should be the one that is going to the replay for review, unless they are the umpire that was impacted by the play. Then it should be the secondary. It should be another umpire who should be assigned to that. That's the thing. You can't have the and I agree with you, Eric. You cannot have the umpire who made the incorrect call be the one involved in the replay, and then say the call stands or the call is confirmed.
Bad light. Somebody else needs to give it a look. Bring an alternate.
And especially a game of that importance, where you know that you only got one shot for the championship, and you're deciding if a team gets to play next weekend. You're deciding if a senior's career comes to a close. That's a lot, and you need to make sure that you get the call right, and also you need to get the call right in a expeditious manner. No taking 2 minutes to decide if you need to review the play, and then taking another 2 minutes to actually review the play itself. Get it in, get it right, get the call, keep the game moving.
Keep it moving, as another podcast wants to use to say.
Yes. Yeah, a former podcast used to say.
Correct. Great audience, by the way, tuning in right now, watching us here. Appreciate everybody. Make sure, reminder, everybody, we're going to be live Sunday night A tradition unlike any of the
yes, sir.
the selection watch party show, 6:30 Eastern start time. Vic will be on. Justin McLeod will be on. I'll be on. We're gonna have a bunch of guests.
A plethora of friends of the podcast will be on.
Yeah, and we'll have live reactions. Good Lord.
Yes.
God help us all.
Hopefully there'll be clean reactions. We can't guarantee that they will.
Yeah, I can't right now. Let's address some quick other topics. Oklahoma State, obviously that's another hot topic for Sunday selection show, and just bad the last few weeks, quite frankly. Is it enough to knock them out of a top 8 seed? This is, again, another example. The metrics say they're still a top 8 team. RPI-wise, they're in the top 5 easily. They have great quality wins and all that. But eye test tells you they've been terrible. I don't think they're a top 8 team, but you never know, Vic. What's your thoughts on that?
I feel right now I got the Cowgirls as a number 10 seed. I have them as a number 10 seed. I think Northwestern winning the Big Ten championship. I have them up. I think Duke beating Clemson, playing as well as they did in the ACC championship game. I got them up over Oklahoma State. So I have the Cowgirls as a 10 seed. Fang asking, has there ever been another team that's collapsed this? There have been teams that have stumbled to the postseason. They've rallied back, but I have not seen a team with this much talent lose as many games as they have down the stretch. That's the part that's bothersome, and without an injury that we know of. So the Cowgirls a month ago a lock top 5. Now I don't think they'll be top 8. I think they'll be top 10. They'll be 7. They'll probably be that 8 to 10 range, which means they could either be hosting, they'll be on the fringe of hosting supers, or it would not surprise me if Oklahoma State is paired with Duke in that 8-9 matchup. And as we bring Eric back in and people talk about Oklahoma State, right now, Eric, I have Oklahoma State right now below the top 8. And it wouldn't surprise me if they get paired with Duke if they matched up in supers. It would not surprise me at all if that happened.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. I could see Duke in that, top 8, lower top 8. LSU, I still think, is in the mix.
LSU's in the mix. I think Northwestern winning today.
I have Northwestern in the top 8. I agree. I think, to me, the top 8 locks: Oklahoma, UCLA, Florida State, Tennessee, Northwestern. You can make a case that Northwestern maybe could be a 5. 5, maybe?
Possible.
Considering what they've done. I mean, Northwestern coming in has an 8 RPI. So I think they're 5 locks regardless. I think, and then you've got Duke could be in the mixed position to host, right?
You got Duke, you got LSU, you got Oklahoma State.
Yeah. But I think, the locks to host in the top 8 are I think Stanford is going to be a top 8 seed. They might be. Now, they might be 7 or 8.
That's what I'm saying. I feel you got 4 teams right now: Stanford, Oklahoma State, Duke, LSU.
But here's the big question, right? Would you see Texas over Oklahoma State?
I know
Texas swept Oklahoma State.
Yeah, they did. I would, because you have to give. If the general rule is that if teams are close, you use head-to-head as one of your metrics to separate them. And Texas swept Oklahoma State.
Because here's the thing: Texas's RPI is 10 as of today. Now, I don't know what it'll be after the loss to Oklahoma.
That'll probably go up.
But here's the question: if you're put Oklahoma State outside the top 8, in theory, not saying it's accurate, in theory, Texas and Oklahoma State might be close to the point.
And remember, Texas and Oklahoma State were paired back in 2021, I believe, in a super regional. Would the committee consider that again? It's pop. Just something to file away in your Rolodex.
It could be. It could be. Let's go through some other topics here. Yes, I agree with Jessica Allister pulling the freshman pitcher because, as we saw with Alabama and Montana Fouts, you just never know.
You never know.
Freshman had an injury earlier in the year that missed some time. The Pac-12 tournament is not worth losing a pitcher.
I rather a coach be too cautious and pull somebody out, find out it's a scare, and they're 100% ready to go, than think they're fine and you have an unfortunate situation with what happened with Montana Fouts in the SEC tournament. And we're certainly sending our thoughts and prayers to the people's queen for what people are saying that she's going to be. Coach Murphy said that she's going to be going to a specialist Monday. Keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully she'll be available for regionals next week.
Well, that's another wrinkle into all this, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you obviously
Alabama is a complete. We've seen this when she was 100%. Alabama is a completely different team when Montana Fouts is pitching. It's fact. Just look. I'm sure Gray and Tom will probably, if they had time, they'll probably have the numbers of Alabama when Montana Fouts starts a game.
Well,
and when Alabama doesn't.
Well, and here's think about it: if Fouts were to miss the regional, we hope not, but let's just say if she's out, what if? Imagine this irony: what if Clemson doesn't host and gets sent to Alabama and Fouts is not there?
Wow.
Which is possible. Central Arkansas could go there as a 2 with and 2 aces
with Johnson and Beaver.
So that's another one to follow, Victor. Sunday
by the way, we do have an update in the A-Sun. Central Arkansas leading North Alabama 2-0 in the top of the second in the if necessary game. Bubble teams are breathing a nice sigh of relief.
Well, don't you feel, Vic? I felt a team like Central Arkansas was built to win, come back, and win because of the 2 aces.
Out of the losers bracket, yes, because he had Beaver and Johnson. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah,
I 100% agree. And their offense is finally starting to get going at the right time. Central Arkansas got themselves got 2 runs in the top and the bottom of the first. Central Arkansas is the home team, by the way, and the champion in the if necessary game. Maddie Young with the RBI double to Maddie Young with RBI.
Nick with
Mary
the question.
With the home run, by the way.
There you go. Nick with the question: is Northwestern top 8? I think so. Yes.
Oh, easy.
I do.
No question.
And they could be as high as a 5. They could be as high as a 5 when you consider their consistency, winning the Big Ten.
Yes.
I might go that way. I don't know. I won't know until like 5 a.m. when this is all wrapped up.
Yep. I think Northwestern, not only a top 8. Again, I think the ceiling for them will be a 5, but definitely top 8.
Agreed.
Definitely top 8.
Agreed. What else we got? Questions here. Let's see. So we agreed on the poll in the Stanford pitcher.
Oh, Eric
Bradley, we got a UCF question from Brad.
Yes, he wants to ask the voice of the UCF softball program, where will UCF be positioned? Now, we have to take into account that Florida, in all likelihood, will not be hosting for the first time under Tim Walton.
2004, folks. To put that in perspective, the man. This
other point.
Way. Okay, that way.
Him. Yes.
When Florida hosted with Karen Johns, our good friend, in 2005, when this streak started for Florida, that guy was calling that regional for UCF, had made their first NCAA tournament. In fact, it was Victor Anderson that got Karen Johns fired.
Why you gotta Why you gotta speak ill about our previous
UCF
guys?
Eliminated Florida.
That is
Victor.
Hold on. Where's my flag? Where's my flag? I need to throw a flag on you for that foolishness. You better be lucky I ain't got my flag on, because I would have been throwing it on you.
Oh, that's great.
Unsportsmanlike blasphemy. On the
is this like a new prop we're gonna add in future shows? Just flags? Can we flag?
We got flags, we got sounders.
All
We're getting, and Lord knows what I'm going to be working on tonight in in preparation for our watch along show tomorrow night, 6:30 Eastern.
At least you'll be sleeping at some point. Where that's very debatable with me. So anyway, I'll finish the story. Yes. So UCF played in their first ever regional. They won the ASUN tournament in their last year in the ASUN. Think about that. Erie went to the regionals and ended up eliminating Florida in 05.
Florida went 2.
Karen Johns, our good friend, parted ways with Florida. They hired a head coach from Wichita State by the name of Tim Walton.
And the rest of they say is history.
Including they've hosted a regional every year since. However, that is likely to come to an end come Sunday night. Florida in the 22 range, lost to Tennessee. They just haven't been as consistent. So now one of the other big questions this Sunday night, where is Florida? Florida. Remember the famous NBC political analyst Tim Russert used to say, Florida comes down to Florida.
Always comes down to Florida.
Florida. Where is Florida going? Is Florida going to fly out somewhere? That's intriguing because we've never seen this before. This is unusual. We just pencil Florida in
of this because we've never seen it.
We can't even use the joke about me going to Gainesville every whatever.
Nope, can't do that no more.
We don't think.
Number one, it happens in even years.
Yeah, well, this is definitely odd. Get it?
It's
an odd feeling. So if Florida does not fly out, there's only one place they could bus. That's Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have a scenario if the committee decides to do this. And this is a divided topic. I've talked to a lot of people. Some people think I'm crazy that they don't think they'll do it. I kind of think they will. You could have Florida State as the number 3 national seed.
Mm-hmm.
And to win that regional, they would have to get through Florida and UCF. If that happens,
I want to state for the record, you and Brady Vernon both said this could possibly happen starting 6 weeks ago.
Yes.
So this is not something.
And I'm going to explain why this could happen. Because every year the FSU seeds an SEC team. And you asked me earlier, Victor, could we go to 32 seeds? Tallahassee will be the poster boy, especially if this happens.
Yes.
Why we might go to 32 seeds. Because wouldn't happen if we see 32.
I want you to think about this, ladies and gentlemen. You could have a possibility where you would have the SEC Player of the Year, Skylar Wallace, the AAC Pitcher of the Year, and Sarah Willis, who was the AAC Tournament Most Outstanding Player at the UCF won today, and the ACC Pitcher of the Year, Kat Sandercock, all in the same regional.
With Tim Walton, Sidney Bo-Malone, and Lonnie Alameda all in the same region. And we don't even know what the 4 seed is going to be like. So who knows?
All I got to say is y'all better.
But I'm telling you, my prediction, if that happens, that will speed. You better believe you're going to hear more
that's going to expedite the process.
Because the reason is
you can bus Florida to Tallahassee.
And here's the thing. Even if it's not Florida, let's say they fly him out somewhere. Auburn can bust there. South Carolina can bust there. I'm telling you, it's going to be one of those 3 teams.
And do you really want to see South Carolina after the run that they went on in Fayetteville?
Right, with their great pitching. Yeah, no, so I'm telling you, Florida State could end up with a stacked regional once again. Remember last year what happened? Remember what happened last year where they got knocked up? They got doubled up by Mississippi State. Obviously, you learn from that if you're Florida State. That happens, but man, I would not want. I mean, Florida, a motivated Florida. Think about that. I can just see the speech now. Nobody's giving them a chance. They're down at this.
That is a classic Tim Walton. Okay.
And by the way, if it's not Florida, it's Auburn. You just have the SEC Pitcher of the Year.
Oh, by the way, so think about this. So you can have I want you to think about this, ladies and gentlemen. You can have a regional where you can have the ACC, the AAC, and the SEC Pitcher of the Year.
Say that again. Just say that again.
You could have a regional with the ACC Pitcher of the Year, the AAC Pitcher of the Year, and the SEC Pitcher of the Year, all in the same regional. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm not mistaken, Eric, Those three teams were all paired in the same regional back in 2021, if memory serves me correct.
That is correct. 2021, Florida State, Auburn, UCF,
and
Kennesaw State, who got in as an at-large with the A-Sun the last time the A-Sun had a multi-bid year. And that was a dangerous 4 seed for Kennesaw.
By the way, yep.
Yeah. Point is, don't be shocked when you see Tallahassee and that you see that region. You're like, whoa. And that's why I think we're going to go to 32 seeds, because a lot of people are going to be like, wait a minute. So Florida State's the 3 national seed potentially. They get a stacked regional where a team in the teens hosting may not get as tough of a regional because of geography and the 400-mile radius and the bus. Now, you might be asking, how does 32 going to 32 seeds change that? Well, as we saw in volleyball, 32 seeds the 2 seed wouldn't necessarily bus. You're just seeding the team.
Yeah,
you can argue they manipulate the numbers, but in theory, the teams that will only would have to bus would be the 3s and the 4 seeds.
Correct.
But I think that conversation is going to be the biggest. I think it'll be a big off-season storyline, Victor. And I think Tallahassee Regional will be one of the poster
children
of that region, and who knows what other regional. But I think that is very live.
Yeah,
very possible.
Yeah, we got a couple more questions because we want to wrap things up. We want to give Eric as much time as he can to do his bracketology. Rainey, did Duke and Northwestern work their way into top 8 after this weekend's performances? Yes and yes. Northwestern, I felt, was in regardless. Duke was kind of on that fringe line, making it to the ACC final and showing out very well versus Florida State. Helps Marissa Young and company's cause. I think they will be a top 8 seed. Don't be surprised if Duke is on that 7-8 line. Northwestern, I think, will be at the very worst, at the very best, a 5 seed. That's how.
And by the way, he's also asking about how will late season performances, when there's not much evidence to see how it's impacted the season path. We're going to know based on where Oklahoma State is.
Oklahoma State will determine a lot of things, and Baylor. Because if you look at their performances at the end of the season, Baylor swept Texas, but then got one and done at the Big 12 tournament versus Iowa State. And we've seen what's happening with Oklahoma State.
I think that's the biggest example because that's been a massive tailspin. And again, their metrics is good enough to be top 8. But I think a lot of people would be upset if they're still top 8 come Sunday night. And that's where we're going to know. If they're out, here's the thing. If Oklahoma State is outside the top 8, then yes, the late season performance had a big impact on that. If Oklahoma State is still in the top 8,
it tells you that it really didn't matter.
And I think the reason they would tell you is we look at the whole body of work, not just how you finish, which is a very controversial statement. Some will agree, some disagree. Again, I'm just a messenger.
You're just an advocate.
I'm not telling you. I'm not even advocating that either. I know Paul Heyman might be advocating. I'm not advocating.
You're a special counsel.
I'm just telling you what might happen.
Your special counsel.
Yeah, give me some speed. Give me some other quick ones here. I know. Let's say a few extra minutes. There's a lot of people here. That's awesome. People are hungry for chatter.
So Callan says Grand Canyon, who won their second straight WAC championship, are they in bus range to go to UCLA? They could be the 4 seed at FSU. Michelle Carlin actually answered that question. They bust to UCLA. They can bust to UCLA. They did it last year. Now,
can they bust to Stanford? That's it. I
was just about to say here's the thing. It's all going to depend on one, if Fullerton gets in the field. If you just joined us late, Fullerton.
All of a sudden we have a ton of California teams with great or
Michelle
teams that
Carlin,
can bust to California.
Yeah. It's all going to depend on one, if Fullerton makes the field, where they get sent to. Because traditionally, when Fullerton makes the tournament, they usually get sent to Los Angeles and UCLA.
But you have Stanford as an option this year. Keep that in mind.
Correct.
You have Stanford.
Correct.
Now, so Fullerton can go to both of those. Now you got Long Beach State. Now so you're gonna have Long Beach in one of the regionals, Fullerton
in the other.
And then the other thing about Long Beach, this is a fascinating development. Is Long Beach a 3 or are they a 4 seed? That's going to be worth interesting because there are some teams that quote are 4 seeds that get squeezed in as a 3, vice versa. So that could make some interesting impacts. I don't know if Sacramento State won their conference or not.
No, Sacramento State is the Big Sky. The Big Sky, they're still determining the Big Sky. It's between Idaho State and Northern Colorado. They're in the if necessary.
That feels like a Washington regional to me, the winner of that one.
Does. It does.
But
also,
now you got Long Beach State. You have Long Beach State.
Yes.
Fullerton.
Mm-hmm.
One will be at Stanford. The other will be at UCLA.
Correct.
Now you have Grand Canyon. I'm going to do a quick math. No. Okay, I'm getting answers here. They cannot bus to Stanford. They can only bus to UCLA.
And by the way, Eric, we do have an update out of the Big Sky, sir, that we do want to announce real quick. So, Northern Colorado are your champions of the Big Sky. They've knocked off Idaho State. They needed to beat them twice. They've done it. They won in first game in extra innings 3-2 and won the run back game 5-3. So Northern Colorado will be making the NCAA tournament for the first time as members of Division I. They moved up from Division II a few years ago. North Alabama, they're trying to do the same thing in the A-Sun. Right now, they're still trailing 2-0 to Central Arkansas. They're in the bottom of the second in the land, and that, if necessary.
They're only in the bottom of the second?
Keep in mind, Eric, the first game was significantly delayed due to rain. Central Arkansas won that game, and now they're running it back for the if necessary for the championship.
So, yes, so Grand Canyon cannot bus to Stanford. So, in theory, if they want to bus them, it's going to be UCLA.
Yeah, it's going to be your four.
And which means yes,
if Long Beach State gets in, Long Beach State will. If Long Beach State goes to UCLA, they're going to likely be the 3 seed.
Well, here's the other question: did Loyola clinch the West Coast Conference?
Yes, they did.
So now you got
clinch. So now
you got Loyola Marymount, you got Fullerton, you've got Long Beach State, all of them in play potentially. I had Marymount as a 3 seed myself. So, and this is wild. That I could see a scenario if the committee decides to put Long Beach. I could see them putting Long Beach as a 4 at Stanford.
Possible.
Put Fullerton as a 3 at UCLA. And then you would have Loyola Marymount as a 3 at Stanford. And Grand Canyon is a 4 at UCLA with the 2 seats to fill out as a flight. Got all that?
There will be a quiz. Eric. Oh, by the way, don't forget.
Let me write that down. I might need that in 3 hours.
By the way, Eric, we cannot forget San Diego State, who won the Mountain West, beating San Jose State 8-0. So add that to your California.
That's another potential 3 seed. Holy smokes!
And here's the other thing. Here's the biggest thing that we're forgetting. Arizona State's not going to be in the tournament. Arizona State, if they make the tournament, they ain't hosting. Where do you ship out the Aztecs?
Well, who says you have to? Who says you have to? San Diego State. I mean, this is that's fascinating because
and Eric, we are one other thing. We will not know who the Summit League champion is going to be until tomorrow morning because they have suspended a game with South Dakota State and Omaha. Thank you so much, Steve B, for giving us that information. That won't finish until tomorrow morning. So, depending on who represents the Summit League, that will determine, okay, who gets shipped out where. So,
Fullerton might be in trouble. I mean, they might be in trouble because all of a sudden we have a ton of California teams that can go to those 2 regions.
And only two teams hosting.
Now, what they could do, they've done this in the past. I could see them squeezing. No, I could see them squeezing keeping Fullerton as a 2, and match them up with San Diego State or Loyola Marymount.
Wow, but LMU, a lot of people felt Loyola Marymount as a 4. By the way, congratulations to Coach Flowers getting LMU to the NCAA tournament back-to-back years.
But again, the reason I mean, Loyola Marymount, Long Beach. One of them is probably going to be a 3. The other one's going to be a 4. Flip a coin. Grand Canyon's clearly going to be a 4. I'm assuming if they bus them there.
Yes.
Which they may not, to your point. I mean, that's not a guarantee, but my sense is they would. And I could definitely see if Fullerton's in, I could see them being as a 2 because that will give you space.
That's a very low. That is a
We've seen that happen. Look at last year in Norman when they had Minnesota and A&M, which were like, huh? I think A&M might have been the 2 there. I don't even remember in retrospect. So it wouldn't be the first time they've done that to put a low 2 in that standpoint.
You're
and
right.
honestly, it kind of fits with UCLA if you were to do that, to put a low 2C with UCLA. So it wouldn't be the worst. It wouldn't be the craziest thing ever. But I could also see them this screwing Fullerton over. Like if we're talking tomorrow about Fullerton not in the field, what we just spent the last few minutes could have played a role in that.
All California teams. Surfing USA.
Michelle Carly, you got a lot of softball ahead of you there.
Yes, she does, and she be looking forward to it. Surfing USA. Eric has a question about LSU. Doesn't understand why LSU might be a top 8 seed, 9-10 against the top 25. Your thoughts on the Fighting Beth Torinas?
So LSU, actually, that's not correct. It's 10 wins against the top 25 going into today. 10-10, 21 quad 1 and 2 wins. 21.
Now, Surfing USA, we do want to stress when we're talking about top 25, we're talking about top 25 teams in the RPI.
Correct.
We're not talking about teams ranked in the top 25.
Quad 1s, quad 2. They have no, by the way, this is important to say, no quad 3 or 4 losses.
That's important.
See, this is the problem. There are perceptions there that LSU has bad losses. They do not. They do not. I get the frustration with some of the, but I'm telling you, they do not. Their schedule strength is 3. Their non-conference schedule strength is 11. It's a good resume. They have wins over the Cajuns. They have a win over Alabama. They have a series win over Georgia. They have 2 wins over Central Arkansas. They have 2 wins over Utah, by the way, who they opened the season with. That looks pretty darn good, doesn't it? They have a win over Auburn. They have a win over Minnesota. That's really good. They have a series win against South Carolina. Doesn't that look pretty good right now?
Much better now.
They have 2 wins over Ole Miss, who's going to be in the field. They have series win over Missouri, who's going to be in the field. That's my point. I actually do think again, I don't want to say yes or no because then if I change my mind 12 hours from now,
it's fluid.
I would not be shocked if LSU is a 7 or an 8 seed tomorrow night.
Just based on those particular metrics.
And I will tell you this. Don't be shocked if you see LSU 8, Oklahoma State or Texas 9.
Oh, Callan Dean will be happy for that because he wants an Texas LSU Super.
I think that's possible, Cal. That is possible.
It is.
But that's why. That is why LSU is in the mix. They have a very good resume from that standpoint. Even though I know it doesn't feel that way because they finished in the middle of the pack of the SEC, but I just read you the resume. It's a good resume.
It's a great resume. Great resume. Well,
I wouldn't say great, but it's strong. It's strong.
It's a strong resume. It's a lot better than some of the other teams. It's a more stable resume than some of the teams that we referenced in that mix 7, 8, 9, 10 earlier in our show.
Baylor cannot go to LSU unless they fly. By the way, to answer no. So if the place that Baylor can bus is Louisiana, not LSU. That is why I will likely project Baylor to go to Louisiana because they can bust. They cannot bust LSU. I've tried this because I love the Glenn Moore LSU storyline. For those that don't know, Glenn Moore was a former head coach at LSU before Yvette Gerard. So I've tried to do this over the years, and every time I do my calculations, it goes over 400 miles. And I've asked the committee people, and I've talked to people in the committee about this. Hey, if it's 405, 420, do you let it slide? They're like, no, we can't let it slide.
There you have it.
So,
now,
Michelle, are you clarifying? Are you saying San Diego State can't bust to who are you saying that can bust to LA, not San Francisco? Who are you referring to there, Michelle? Clear that up.
I think she's referring to. Yeah, we'll let Michelle clarify.
That could help me, and if you save me an hour of sleep, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. What other? I want to make sure we hit every question.
Let's see. We've already talked about that.
A&M. Yeah, I think A&M is going to be at Texas. Because think about this, you can only do that for 2 more years. 2 more years.
And then Texas joins the SEC.
And A&M has not been in Austin since 19, the regional. So, and it's Trisha Ford, Mike White. Come on, bring it up.
We'll take it. He's saying Michelle's saying San Diego can go to UCLA. So
really? Not Stanford? What a weird state you guys are. All right. Thank you for that. That makes my life. So San Diego State is a 3. Stacy Newman in a regional at UCLA. That's a pretty fun storyline. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and also you can have a potential of having Stacy Newman and Taria Flowers playing in a regional at UCLA.
I could
possible, but you had to put LMU as the 4.
I don't think so. And here's why. Here's the problem why I don't think that'll happen, because Grand Canyon can only bus to UCLA. So unless they decide to fly Grand Canyon, I could see San Diego State as a 3, Grand Canyon as a 4 there. And that's where I could see Fullerton as a 2, and you bust everybody there. Then you send Long Beach and Loyola Marymount to Stanford. Thank you, Michelle. I might text you tonight. I hope you don't mind at 4 a.m.
Yeah, that'll be
East
1
Coast
p.m.
Well,
now keep in mind she may be potentially celebrating UCLA winning the inaugural Pac-12 championship at that point.
Well, I'll tell you this, Michelle. I think there's some committee members that are probably rooting for UCLA because if Utah wins, that makes it a little more complicated. They might be up late like I am.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. I think we have covered the bulk of the questions here in our chat, and we're gonna be doing this. We're gonna be doing the same thing tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, during our Selection Sunday watch along, 6:30 Eastern time, 3:30 Pacific time. A plethora of guests.
I'm picking UCLA to beat Utah, just for the record.
Okay, I will too. I am too.
Because we've talked a lot about this Utah scenario, but I think UCLA beats them. So
yes. So
but if they don't, makes it interesting for that. You're right. I mean, you can make a case for them.
Yep, that is gonna be a fascinating watch. Mark Neely, Danielle Laurie will have to call Alan Hillenbrand at about 45 minutes time. Eric, I know you got some brackets. I know you got a game to watch. I still gotta go get my dinner.
My dinner's in the microwave. It's one of the reasons I stepped out. I had to make sure it didn't burn.
That point.
Literally. Otherwise, that would have been added to our list of things that happened.
All the walk-offs that happened today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about those in some capacity tomorrow. All that happened on our watch today. That unbelievable. Yeah, so the Summer League, that'll be decided tomorrow. South Dakota State and Omaha. That may dictate who potentially flies out west or flies likely out east. Who knows? They may end up in Tallahassee for all we know. We see South Dakota State in Orlando last year. We would know because we were there.
We also had, it's true. We did have South Dakota State, Krista Wood there. We had Villanova there last year in Orlando. So you just never know. You never know.
We will all find out together.
So at some point Sunday morning on X-Rating Softball, you will see my final bracketology.
Yes.
If I'm coherent,
Keyword
Victor and I may do a quick live show at some point in the afternoon to recap that.
Yeah, we might.
Or Vic might just do a D2 recap. Who knows? I mean, who knows?
I'm saving that for Tuesday because D2 is just D2 ain't decided yet because they're dealing with Mother Nature over at Canyon, Texas, West Texas A&M Colorado Christian. They got postponed to tomorrow due to weather. So
no, that's true. So, but I will have it on X-Rating Softball. I will try to answer some questions on Twitter. We will be on live show. Victor will be hosting the lives. So, because I host D. This way this works basically is he hosts D. I host D2. So let's watch live show, which was boy, what a great show that was, folks. If you haven't got a chance, and give us an update because we had 3 special guests.
Yes, we did
on our live show, Division 2 Historic. Literally nobody in the country did what we did on that Division 2 show. So kind of explain that to the audience.
Okay, so we had 3 coaches on the show. North Georgia, Mike Davenport. They took care of business in the Southeast 1 sub-regional. So they'll be advancing, taking on Wingate. Allison Van Syk from Shippensburg, unfortunately, did not take care of business. They had a chance to win one of the 2 games, but they lost to Michelle Frew and Charleston.
Wow.
Michelle Frew.
Well, keep in mind, the clarification now. They hosted.
Charleston was the 3 seed, but Charleston was the host. Don't ask me how that works in Division 2. I don't think
it's the facilities. Remember, she mentioned
facility for situation with Shippensburg. So Charleston will be
Michelle Frew in the Supers, Vic.
Ironically enough, again, it was 7 years ago last week where Michelle Frew led Rollins to their first and still only super, and she leads Charleston to their first super. They take on East Stroudsburg. Rich Wagner and Northwest Nazarene, they had the if necessary versus Concordia, but they were not able to come through. Concordia advances to the West Super Regional versus San Marcos. I'll have more details about all of that on our D2 Tuesday. We may do that live as well. Who knows?
And we will be, by the way, we are hoping, and we're finalizing plans, but we're going to be covering.
We may be playing an announcement about what we'll be doing for the D2 National Championships and
among other postseasons in the softball.
Among other postseasons, yes.
It's about to get busy.
Yes.
Anyway, busy. All right, that was fun. So we're going to wrap it up here because Vic's exhausted. He did a doubleheader. He's going to get dinner. I got to get dinner, and then we're all gonna watch the Pac-12 championship together, and Eric's gonna freak out about if Utah wins and if so and so makes it here. And right now, Central Arkansas, they still lead 2-0 in the bottom of the third in the land. Again, important for bubble teams like Texas State, Arizona, Michigan. They need Central Arkansas to win because right now Central Arkansas is the lock as an at-large. Liberty with their RPI, they're likely a lock right now. North Alabama wins means the ASUN will be a 3-bid league. So Eric will certainly be looking at those results as well. And we will have all of this ready for you tomorrow evening, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific time. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, this is the first time you're watching us, thank you for doing so. Hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. We will tweet out the link tomorrow afternoon. We may do something live tomorrow afternoon, depending on if Eric is anywhere functional, which I don't think I might still be awake. I mean, I may not even sleep.
That part. Well, because you still got a bid to determine in the summit, so that's all that stuff. No, and we'll have a plethora of guests, including Justin McLeod from Extra Innings Softball and some other surprises we may have up our sleeve. But enough of us yapping, folks. Eric and I need to go eat dinner. And I know y'all got to get ready to watch that Pac-12 championship game at the top of the hour with our good friends Mark Neely and Daniel Laurie. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching us this evening for our Selection Sunday preview. We will talk to you tomorrow, definitely at 6:30. Earlier than that, follow us on our Twitter. We may find out where. For Eric Lopez, I'm Victor Anderson. We hope you enjoyed this edition of In the Circle Live. And as always, good night, Canada.